Hello and welcome to another episode of DeHaan on Fire, brought to you by FireWise Learning Academy. I'm your host, Tim Davis. DeHaan on Fire is a YouTube channel and podcast featuring education, commentary, and conversation with Dr. John DeHaan and colleagues and friends. From time to time, fire scenes require power tools to help the investigator conduct his or her investigation. However, using gas-powered tools is frowned upon now as a bad practice. I asked Dr. DeHaan about that in this week's question. DeHaan on Fire contains discussion and video not suitable for all audiences. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. Dr. DeHaan, why is it a bad practice to use gas-powered tools in a fire investigation?
One of the most significant bits of evidence an investigator looks for in a fire scene is evidence of the presence of ignitable liquids, whether it's gasoline or paint thinner or diesel fuel or whatever it might be. And so it's the significance of that, the presence of those materials is really entirely dependent on what else could have provided a contaminant source that didn't have anything to do with the start of the fire. And gasoline-powered tools has been, at least in the past, a suggested source of that kind of contamination. It could seriously mislead an investigation. And for a long time, it was just gasoline-powered tractors and heavy lifting equipment and things like that. But then we realized as our sensitivity for such ignitable liquid residues became better and better, we realized that there are other tools such as the exhaust from the gasoline-powered extraction fan or positive pressure ventilation fan operating in the window or the door of a structure. And there was enough in testing done in Canada a number of years ago, there was enough gasoline vapor still in the exhaust of one of those field use ventilation fans that you can actually detect it in carbon strip type collection devices placed in the scene after just 10 minutes or so of use. And so investigators are warned that if gasoline powered equipment is used, that it stays outside the structure, and that includes things like saws and drills and moving equipment and the ventilation fans. And then their use location should be documented either by notation or photograph, as long as the investigator is aware of it. As the sensitivity of the laboratory methods has improved, probably by a factor of 100 or more over the last 20 years or so, then the investigator has to be much more careful and diligent about making sure that there's no such materials possibly used, and documents when they are used in his or her report. A related contamination issue is on transferring ignitable liquid from outside the scene, for instance, on somebody's boots, and they walk through a trail or a puddle of ignitable liquid like gasoline seeping from a power tool, and then walk into the scene and have contact between those boots and the debris. And the debris can pick up enough material from that sort of contact to actually trigger the laboratory, a positive laboratory analysis. But some testing done a few years ago actually on contaminated footwear, and the footwear was like firefighters' boots, stepping in an actual liquid residue of gasoline and then walking into a carpeted area or even on a charred area, that the first step or two you could still detect the gasoline, but after the second or third step The canine might alert because of their significantly lower sensitivity threshold. But the laboratory results would come back negative. So then it's a matter of, okay, where was the potential source, and where was the material, actually detected. I had one case in which the guy said the opposing lawyer asked about transfer of material, and he suggested that his client, the owner of the property, had stepped in gasoline leaking from a motorcycle in his garage and then tracked it into the house. And I pointed out that, the positives for the gasoline on this particular stairway didn't start at the bottom of the stairs nearest the motorcycle, but at the top of the stairs, and got fainter as the trace came down. So that kind of blew that explanation for having that. But yeah, the sensitivity is there in today's things, and most fire investigators are very careful to clean their boots, moving from or rinse their boots moving from one area to another as a precaution against that kind of contamination.
Thanks for watching another episode of DeHaan on Fire, brought to you by FireWise Learning Academy. If you have any questions for Dr. DeHaan, please email them to questions@DeHaanOnFire. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Ring the bell to get notifications of new uploads to the channel, and don't forget to set your devices to receive those updates. For now, signing off for FireWise Learning Academy and DeHaan on Fire, I'm your host, Tim Davis. See you next time.